Okay, I know the first 2 weeks were super chaotic and messy, but I promise y'all, now the game is starting to get just a little bit stale. There are people that want to quit, there's people that want to volunteer for the block. All of this is making the game a little stagnant, but there's still plenty of moving parts and there's still a lot of game left to be played. We now have a new HOH, new noms, and a new target for week 3. But before we dive into all that, make sure you hit the subscribe button below if you have not already. I mean, some of you guys watch my recaps all the time, but you haven't even subscribed yet. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The TV edit just does not do this actual game justice at all. So if you want a deeper dive into what actually goes on behind the scenes in this game, beyond what you just see on the TV show, this channel is the place for you. Now, let's get into it. So, as we just saw on eviction night, Lisa was just evicted by an 11-to-1 vote. The decision to vote out Lisa was mainly because everybody falsely thought that she had an advantage that she didn't have, combined with it being a personality thing too. They just really didn't like her a ton, if we're being honest. So Chelsea's HOH was technically successful. I mean, Lisa was her initial target and now she's gone. But I do wish that she would have secured a majority alliance or something to secure her for her long game. In fact, there was a majority alliance that was being formed during her reign that she just wasn't even a part of, which obviously isn't a good look there. So because we have a lot of smaller groups in the game with no real big majority yet, the stakes were really high leading into this next HOH. And unlike the previous week before, everybody was gunning for this one. Nobody was planning to throw it. And when the feeds came back on after the competition, we see that young Cedric is our third HOH of the season. So with Cedric as our new HOH, let's now talk about where his position is in the game right now. He is still super tight with Chelsie and Cam, and this trio is still going very strong, so they should all be good for this week. This alliance has since expanded to the Pentagon, which also includes Brooklyn and Quinn. This alliance is still very solid in Cedric's eyes, even though Quinn and Brooklyn have started to drift away just a little bit. And on top of all this, that collective alliance that Quinn tried to form during week 1 is still apparently a thing to Cedric. I mean, they never solidified, they never formally met as a group and talked about anything, but it is still real to Cedric, and that's all that matters. He wants to keep that group safe. Really, Cedric's worked with most of the house at this point, so he's gonna have a little bit of trouble nailing down his 3 nominees. The first nom is gonna be a very easy decision though. Angela. She knows that this has been a long time coming, and she's low-key the target for the week, even though I think there are much better shots for Cedric to take. But Cedric is going to sit down with Angela to have their one-on-one, and she's going to give him the same spiel that she gave to Chelsie. She doesn't want to go home, but she knows what she's done. She knows she's the house outcast, so she tells him that it's totally okay if he puts her on the block.
I just want you to know, I don't want to go home. I really don't.
Right.
But I also understand that it's easier to put me up.
Yeah.
Because of everything.
Right.
And so I want your job to be easier. So go ahead and do it.
So right off the bat, that's one easy nom out the way. The next nom is another very obvious choice. Kenny. At this point, everyone knows that Kenny just wants to go home and see that family that he loves so much. So, in true Kenny fashion, he's just gonna volunteer for the block yet again. I'm sorry, it's just Kenny is making this game so freaking boring with all this volunteering crap. I know there are some Kenny apologists out here who think this is all a strategy. They think Kenny is just some big brain mastermind that's really fooling us all. But no, I don't think so for a minute. Kenny is just not cut out for the long game. He's been moping, he's been making his roommates feel bad, yelling at them for staying up late to strategize, like, hello, this is a house show, that's what they do. I don't think it's a strategy at all. I think he really wants to leave. It's just Kenny is the type of guy whose biggest fear is looking weak. So I think he wants to go home without making it look like he's a quitter or giving up. And if this whole thing is some sort of strategy, it is an absolutely terrible one. Let me tell you, it is backfiring completely. At first, most of the other house guests were pretty empathetic and sensitive about him missing his family and stuff. But now he's just doing nothing but pissing people off with all the constant complaining. A lot of folks think he's just wasting their time and a spot for somebody who actually wants to be there.
Why the fuck are you gonna sign up for the show if all you're gonna do is complain about how you want to quit the whole time? Then you complain about people talking out in the kitchen because you're trying to sleep because you picked the worst bed. It's like, bro, this is a reality show.
So now Cedric is planning for Angela to be target number 1 with Kenny as the backup target. But now the search is on for Cedric to find his third nominee. And this is where things start to get a little bit messier. Again, he's trying to avoid putting up the people that he's previously worked with. So he's going to consider Makensy because they've never worked together before. So they sit to have a one-on-one where Makensy is going to reveal to Cedric that she has one of the upgrade powers. She's using the same strategy she used on Chelsie last week, which is to tell the HOH that you have automatic safety just so they don't put you on the block. Because if Cedric did put her up, then she would just pull herself off and then it would kind of be a waste of a move. Now, Cedric could put Makensy up anyway to try to flush the advantage, but then he would probably make an enemy out of her. So for now, he's just going to cross Makensy off the list. Now, another option for Cedric is Leah, again, because they don't talk any game. They also just don't get along super well in general. They've never fought or had an argument or anything, but there is a little bit of tension there just from like little rumors that have been spread around the house the past couple weeks. But Cedric is afraid to put up Leah because he's afraid that Makensy might use her power on her, and then that would be a waste of a move and 2 enemies made. So for now, he's going to cross Leah off the list as well. Now, Leah might be in a little bit of trouble later on in the week though, because during this conversation, she actually suggested that Cedric put up Cam as a pawn because he volunteered for the block before when Chelsie was HOH.
There's someone that you haven't talked to yet that previously agreed in front of me to being a pawn previously. So I think if you talk to everyone.
And Leah and Cam were supposed to have a little flirtmance going, and honestly that flirtmance with Cam is kind of what's been keeping her safe recently. So I really don't know Leah's strategy or if there even was one for throwing Cam under the bus here, but either way it is not going to be a good look for the Triple C's. If Cedric has to name a renom, Leah is definitely on the short list of names, let me tell you. And this should obviously be a huge red flag for Cam. I'm hoping he's thinking with the right head and is starting to look at Leah a little bit sus after this, but we gon' see. Now, another option for the block is Joseph. Joseph was technically a part of that collective thing with Cedric, but his game has been very quiet lately. Joseph doesn't have a solid group or person to vouch for him in the game yet, so a lot of people were whispering to Cedric that he should use Joseph as a pawn. And Cedric is totally down for this, until he brings the subject up with Joseph, and Joseph shuts that shit down immediately.
There's no way with Angela and Kenny going up that you would go home. But if you're not, I'm not going to force you to do something you're not going to do. Yeah, I'm sorry to do that. I don't want to do that because I feel like once you go up one time, you're very easily confused. I don't want to become that person who just...
See, yes, that's what I'm talking about, Joseph. A real superfan giving a real superfan answer. We love to see it. Finally, Cedric's last option for that block is Rubina. They also don't have any formal alliances together, but unlike Joseph, Rubina has actually been playing kind of hard this past week. So Rubina has people to stand up for her in the game, mainly T-Kor. I mean, T-Kor told Cedric straight up that she did not want to see Rubina hitting that block at all. And so now Cedric is hesitant to put Rubina up because he doesn't want to upset T-Kor. But here's the thing though. T-Kor and Rubina are trying to solidify an alliance that Cedric isn't a part of. So putting up somebody like Rubina would actually be a pretty strategic move for Cedric. He just doesn't realize it. So Cedric is pretty dead set on Rubina being his third nominee until seemingly out of nowhere, Tucker volunteers to be a pawn yet a freaking again.
Whoever I put up isn't going home, so now I'm a target for them in the house.
So it's like,
then you can just do me.
Yes.
If you feel like that. Because you know I'm not going to come after you, bro.
You sure, Choco? Because I don't want
I buried 2 people in 25 seconds.
Dude.
Like, why? Sometimes Tucker comes across as so savvy in this freaking game until he starts doing shit like this. Some people in the house think that Tucker is doing all this just to build his resume up, but to me, volunteering to be the pawn over and over again would do nothing to make me want to give you $750K. I'm sorry. That's just not good gameplay to me, and on top of all that, it's boring. But I mean, from Cedric's standpoint, I guess I get why he would choose to put these people on the block, because it's so freaking easy. They're just handing themselves to him on a silver platter. Who could deny that? So now Cedric's in this position to put up Kenny and Tucker, 2 people that he's good with, instead of someone like Leah or MJ, who are actual threats to his game. Again, I can't blame Cedric too much here because every single one of these people is okay with being on the block in some capacity. It's absolutely insane, and I'm just scared that this whole volunteering thing is gonna set a precedent for the rest of the season. I mean, imagine a world where somebody is targeted purely because they did not want to go up as a pawn. In other news, let's talk about some of the other things going on in the house. Another random subplot in the house is that Kenny has been trying to spread rumors of an all-girls alliance. He is saying that the girls are all ganging up together and that Brooklyn is in charge of everything, which just is not true at all. In fact, Brooklyn has tried to pull Kenny into the game a few times before. He just never reciprocates. Now, even though this is all fake, I do believe that Kenny actually believes this is all real in his mind, probably just because at times he's seen some women talking to each other and now that's sketchy. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Kenny is just honestly completely wrong here, but it is going to give him some gusto and actually get him to start talking a little bit of game. Because of all of this, now Kenny wants to start an all-guys alliance. And so he's going to make the world's most random pitch to Cedric and Tucker.
Did they shake it?
Shake it up.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
We needed that. I needed that.
Now, I don't know what type of alliance puts 2 of its own members on the block together, but that's none of my business. I can't imagine this being real or lasting too long just because the other guys aren't afraid to work with the other women, but it does show just how out of the loop Kenny is. It's gotten so far that some people in the streets are saying that Kenny is giving them misogynist vibes, which I'm not gonna deny. It just feels like he's the type of guy that doesn't see the value or point in working with women. Because he has been approached by a few ladies wanting to start working with him in the game, but he just never reciprocates any of that. And now he's just trying to target the women and only the women. I don't know, it's just giving weird. Now, in this conversation, Kenny also says that he wants Cedric and Tucker to band together and stick together and make it all the way to the finale.
That's super easy. Okay, dope. And then you're like, we gotta feel safe with Kenny. If for some reason Angela doesn't go home, we gotta feel safe to Kenny, and he's good with it, and it puts blood on nobody's hands, and Kenny's not coming after anybody.
So, in case anyone out there thought that Kenny is finally here in the game and he's ready to play for the long haul, no, he's not. So that's all I got for today. The feeds did come back on after the nomination ceremony, and we did see that Angela, Kenny, and Tucker are indeed on the block together. Angela is still the most likely to go home if she doesn't win safety, but given their comp record, Kenny and Tucker would be much better options to leave for most folks, if you ask me. Of course, I'll be back here to update you guys whenever something big changes, including the results of the veto competition. But until that time comes, peace.